I know you clicked on this video and you probably expected to hear me talk about the normal NFL shenanigans, whatever list I would have made, etc. However, I decided to make an exception today because I want to start talking about a new league that just started airing games as early as last week. I am talking, of course, about the USFL. If you don't know what that is, it is a new league that is currently airing all over, like the big networks like Fox, like NBC. It's on USA Network, FS1, Peacock. Don't watch it on Peacock. Peacock fucking sucks. It is currently being funded by Fox. They've put over $150 million into this with the hope that investors will be able to provide $250 million. They're currently based in Birmingham, Alabama. There are 8 teams and there are 10 weeks to the season. We're going to be getting into the league as well as the first week of the league throughout this video. So I'm just going to say right now, if you guys do enjoy this video and you do want to see some more like it, be sure to leave a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Be sure to follow me on Twitch as well. Once again, links down in the description or in the bio, depending on what platform you're watching this on. And with that said, let's get right into it. The United States Football League, better known as the USFL, was formed in, I believe, 2020 or 2021 as an alternative for spring football. There were previous placements in these slots, with it being the Vince McMahon-led XFL. And I enjoyed the XFL very thoroughly until, once again, the pandemic hit and this league suspended operation. The USFL is based in Birmingham, Alabama, and with that, they do not tour at all. They have teams in Tampa Bay, they have teams in Michigan, they have teams in New Jersey, and of course they have 2 Alabama teams, but they all run in Alabama. I do personally enjoy the strategy because it is very cost efficient, but I'm not sure if Alabama is the right place to hold it, and I'll get into that in a minute. I'm going to be going over some brief rules, and it's nothing like insane. I'm not going to read all the rules right now, but I'm going to go over some shit that I've highlighted that I think is just honestly a pretty cool addition. This is something they adopted from the NFL and the XFL. In the XFL, if you remember, they didn't have extra points. They had a 2-point and a 3-point conversion. Now, there are 3 different options to score after a touchdown. The first point is a kick from the 15-yard line, which is adapted from the NFL. For 2 points, you have to attempt a scrimmage play from the 3-yard line, which was adapted from the XFL. And to get 3 points, you have to attempt a scrimmage play from the 10-yard line, which is also adapted from the XFL. They have the 1-foot rule, where if you keep 1 foot in bounds, it will count as a catch. This is probably one of my favorite things. There is no chain crew. Instead, a microchip is inserted into each football, and it uses a bunch of different technology similar to the next-gen stats that the NFL uses to pinpoint the location of the ball. I am not entirely sure how this works, so I'm not going to try to explain this to anyone, but yeah. I think this is honestly a really cool idea. I don't have a problem with the chain crew at all, but I never even knew this type of technology even existed. So I'm perfectly fine with this. As I mentioned before, they're going to be running in 2 different stadiums in Alabama. However, they will play their postseason in Canton, Ohio, where the Pro Football Hall of Fame is located. One more thing before we get into the actual games as well. Every player has a set salary, so it doesn't matter who you are. You could be a quarterback, you could be a tight end, you could be a defensive back, a linebacker, a kicker. If you're on the active roster, you make a set $4,500 a game, and if you're retained for the entire 10-game season, that's $45,000. And that also adds an additional $850 per win and $10,000 each if they win a championship, which means at max, you can make probably over $63,000. That's a very rough estimate, but I think that's a pretty solid estimate. Practice squad players also make about $15,000 a year with an additional $600 a week for training. That's probably not the best. They're probably making closer to G League money in the NBA. They'd most likely have to get another job. For a startup, it's not fantastic. For practice squad especially, it's not fantastic. The goal for this first season is kind of experimental, and they are making a pretty solid wage. But no, practice squad players are making fucking peanuts. They're gonna have to get a job bagging groceries. I understand why they can't pay them equal in that aspect, but that's just so odd to me. So we're gonna hop into week 1. I was contemplating doing week 2 as well in this video, but you're gonna be seeing a different video for week 2. Week 1, game 1. The New Jersey Generals versus the Birmingham Stallions. The attendance for this game was around 17,500. This was on Easter Eve. 40,000 tickets were bought, with prices maxed at $25. That's right, you heard me right. The highest amount that you could pay for one ticket to go to a USFL game in Alabama, $25. I believe general admission is $10, and if you're under the age of 15, you can get in for free. Weather was kind of rough around this point in Alabama. So overall, though, for the first game, not too shabby in terms of attendance. In terms of national viewership, they were going up against the NBA playoffs and all of that. They pulled nearly 3 million viewers. There was a simulcast on NBC and on Fox. So NBC had 1.52 million, while Fox had 1.43 million. The Stallions beat the Generals 28-24. I'm going to be showing you all the game leaders right now. And if you guys want to see any more advanced stats on the USFL, I will be leaving a link to where you can get all that. First link in the description. Luis Perez on the Generals went 13 of 18 for 72%, 143 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, and had a QBR of 175.6. The highest QBR that you can get in the game in the NFL is 158.3. I've never heard of one as high as 175.6, but this is how they listed it on the USFL part of the Fox Sports website. Quarterback for the Generals, DeAndre Johnson, led in rushing. 12 rushes, 98 yards, and a rushing touchdown. One thing I like about the Generals anyway, they have a 2-quarterback system. They have one guy who's primarily a passer in Luis Perez, who can get out of the pocket a little bit. And they have a guy like DeAndre Johnson, who is just pure speed, and he can throw as well. Randy Satterfield led the game as well as the league this week in receiving yards. He had 5 catches and 1 receiving touchdown. One thing I do find kind of funny, all of the leaders for each major offensive category were all on the losing team. The Stallions defense had 90 tackles total, 50 solos, 3 sacks, 3 TFLs, no picks, but did have 4 pass deflections. So overall, not a bad first game to show at all. For a while, it looked like Birmingham was going to be owned, but Birmingham turned it around. They picked up the win, and they got the first win of the first game of the new USFL. Game 2, the Houston Gamblers versus the Alabama Panthers. This game was aired early on Easter Sunday. I believe this was aired around closer to noon. The attendance was not confirmed, but it did look to be in the hundreds. Like, it was, like, you've probably seen videos and pictures online. It was bad. Now, granted, in Alabama, it is Easter, and also the weather was very bad. In fact, a game would later be rescheduled, but we'll get into that in a little bit. Saying that their attendance was in the hundreds is being very, very generous. It didn't even look like there was 100 people in there. And that stadium can fill at least 40,000 people. The national viewership was really good, though. They pulled about 2.1 million viewers on NBC. So, you know, still solid viewership. Shea Patterson, who I will be talking about a little bit throughout this video because I do enjoy his play. I was thinking about it earlier. He reminds me of either a great value Sam Darnold or a dollar store Russell Wilson. I can't really figure out which comparison to give him because he does have a solid arm. He can move around the pocket and he can throw deep balls. Like, I really enjoy watching him play. 17 of 25 for 68% completion, 192 yards, 1 passing touchdown, and a 104 QBR. Stevie Scott, who's a running back for the Panthers, had 18 rushes for 72 yards and 1 touchdown. While Panthers wide receiver Lance Lenoir, I think I pronounced that right, Lenoir. I'm painfully white. Someone help me. Lance Lenoir had 6 catches, 71 yards, and 1 touchdown. Gamblers defense, of course, won them the game. They established themselves as a top defense in the league with this game right here. Had 98 tackles, 58 of them being solos, 3 sacks, 6 TFLs, 1 pick, 2 pass deflections, and 1 touchdown. Gamblers dominated for a majority of this game. The Panthers started to have a bit of a comeback, but the Gamblers shut that down almost immediately. But overall, it was a glorified squash that was almost just a choke. Yeah, not too bad. Game 3. The Philadelphia Stars versus the New Orleans Breakers. Same story when it comes to attendance. It was not confirmed, but it was very, very low. Over 770,000 people on the USA Network tuned into this game as the Breakers defeated the Stars 23-17. Brian Scott, who led the Stars, had the most yards in the league with 202 yards, 25 of 36, 1 passing touchdown, 1 pick, and a 104.1 QBR. Jordan Ellis, who's a Breakers running back, had 18 rushes for 89 yards and 1 touchdown, while Stars receiver Chris Rowland had 7 catches for 74 yards. Breakers defense came in clutch, 68 tackles, 44 of them being solos, 6 sacks, 9 tackles for loss, 1 interception, 3 pass deflections, and a touchdown. They put fucking Brian Scott and the rest of that team in a fucking cage, bro. And I'm going to admit it right now. A lot of these games I did not watch the full versions of. I did watch highlights on YouTube, pretty much what you're seeing here. But I'm definitely going to try to be watching at least the majority of the games from here on out, because I do want to be able to give as detailed a thought as I can. And finally, the last game of the week. This was supposed to be on Sunday night, but was postponed to Monday because of rain delay or whatever, weather concerns, Alabama stuff. I don't know. Maybe they were inbreeding. Okay, maybe that's too far. The Tampa Bay Bandits, my squad, going up against the Pittsburgh Maulers. And I feel like the Maulers have sort of become the Steelers of the league, mostly because they're just genuinely hateable. If you know why, you know why, but all I gotta say is one word: Pizzagate. Attendance once again not confirmed, but it was pretty low. It pulled only 268,000 people on FS1, and the Bandits, led by my guy Jordan Tamu, defeated the Maulers 17-3. By the way, just so y'all know, I'm joking. I don't really have like full vested interest unless I'm gambling, which I didn't. It's honestly funny because they did decimate this team, but the quarterback play was terrible. Jordan Tamu, one of the two people that I recognize going into the league, besides Paxton Lynch, threw 20 of 32, had 185 yards, 1 passing touchdown, 2 interceptions, and a 62.6 QBR. Maulers running back Garrett Groshek had 16 rushes for 55 yards, while Bandits tight end Cheyenne O'Grady had 8 catches for 86 yards. Maulers defense did just that. They mauled the Bandits, but again, it didn't matter because they only scored 3 points. Their offense sucks. 74 tackles, 41 from being solos, 1 sack, 8 tackles for loss, 2 picks, and 8 pass deflections. So overall, a pretty solid week for the USFL. Their viewership on major networks stayed pretty consistent. I don't know how I feel about them just going on USA and all that. FS1 I understand, but USA is just, it's mostly an obscure network unless you watch like WWE, then you know where it is. But overall, not a bad effort. I will be covering week 2, so keep that in mind. By the time of this recording, I just watched the Friday night game. And yeah, that's it for me though. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you do want to see more USFL videos like this, be sure to leave a like. Once again, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Be sure to follow my Twitch once again. Links down in the description or in the bio, depending on what platform you're watching this on. And with that being said, that's it for me. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I am out. See you.